how come you throw the meat to the dogs? Because they didn't croak. They didn't croak. They didn't bark. But the frogs did something much more. They jumped into the ovens. So why don't we give it to the frogs? The frogs, they're much more significant. They gave up their life. So he said, because it's easier to give up your life than to stop talking. I don't know. Whatever. Okay. So it just means it's hard to refrain from saying something that you would like to say. So Rav is going to need to pay for this because the animal was already thrown out. And Rav incorrectly ruled that this was treif. Okay. Amar Mar Bered Ravina. Mar, the son of Ravina. Let's see some of these down here. He says, I'm going to pose a question. Tiyufta means an unanswerable, unresolvable question to the enemies of Rava. Now, because he said it so harshly, he doesn't want to say to Rava, so he says to the enemies of Rava, but he means Rava. You know, when you say something very harsh, you don't want to put it directly on Rava, but that's what he means. It was like a euphemistic way of saying that.
But if you say it to the enemies, that's good for Rabbi.
Right. But that's a way of saying, and the Gemara does this many times. We don't really do this in English, but when the Gemara wants to say something negative about the Jewish people, it will say about the enemies of the Jews, and it means the Jews, but it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to phrase it, so it says to the enemy. So he says, "Lo'ilam hilchasa kedivrei Beis Hillel." Really, always the halacha is like Beis Hillel. They say always, because we're going to see. But if you want to go like Beis Shammai, you can do like Beis Shammai. The Gemara is going to ask. That seems to be a contradiction. You said the halacha is always like Beis Hillel. Kedivrei Beis Hillel. If you want to go like Beis Hillel, you go like Beis Hillel. Mikula Beis Shammai, Mikula Beis Hillel. You want to take the leniencies of Shammai, which are not a lot, in the leniencies of Beis Hillel. That's Russia. That's a wicked person. I call this rabbi shopping. Michumrei Beis Shammai and Michumrei Beis Hillel. Let's say you want to take, this is you're really from. You're going to take all the stringencies of Beis Shammai. And the stringencies of Beis Hillel, Alava Kasavaimer, Aksil B'chei. The fool walks in darkness. Shouldn't take everyone's stringencies. Ika Beis Shammai, if you're going to go like Beis Shammai, Kekuleim Kuchumreim, then you have to take the leniencies and the stringencies. Ika Beis Hillel, but if you're going to go like Beis Hillel, Kekuleim Kuchumreim, then you take the leniencies and the stringencies as well. But you have to follow one specific opinion. So what he was saying here was a strong question on Rava, because Rava was going to take the stringencies of Rav and the stringencies of Shmuel. Okay. The Gemara says, Hagufa Kasha. This is self-contradictory, because Amrit Le'elam Halacha K'divrei Beis Hillel. He started off saying that the halacha is always like Beis Hillel. V'hadatani ha'reitz lasas K'divrei Beis Shammai yaseh. Then he said, if you want to go like Beis Shammai, you can go like Beis Shammai. So the Gemara says, like Kasha. It's not a question. Because kan koydem baskol, kan lacha baskol. There was a baskol that came out, a voice from heaven that came out that said that the halacha is like Beis Hillel.
Wow.
So, when we said here that the halacha is always like Beis Hillel, that's because there was a baskol that told us the halacha is like Beis Hillel. Before the baskol, then if you wanted to go like Beis Shammai, you can go like Beis Shammai. Now, let's go a little further. I'll go back to discuss the Tosfos. Now, Iba Yisema, if you want, we can answer Af La'achar Baskol. That really, both of these statements are after the baskol. For Rabbi Yeshua, and it goes according to the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua, the Amar Ein Mashkichim BeBaskol, it says we don't trust baskol. We don't pay attention. Mashkiach pays attention. What's it? One disregards. Okay, that's not the Ein Mashkichim. Oh, disregards. Okay, you don't regard the baskol.
Can I ask a question? Could you put in other words, baskol?
Well,
voice from heaven.
They say heaven.
No.
They say echo. They say
echo. Is that the term? An echo?
Thou shalt not do.
No, in our language.
Noah.
In our language,
That's
what
what I
does
was
it
thinking.
mean? An inspiration to, what does it mean?
I don't know.
You had to be there.
I wonder what voice that echoes.
So, in Kabbalah it's very significant because the Kabbalah gives every phrase of the Gemara, it attributes a certain level. When it says Torah lo b'shamayim, Torah is not in heaven. So that's a certain level. Baskal is a different level because right away you say, what do you mean a Baskal? Torah lo b'shamayim, Torah is not in heaven. As we're going to see over here, Tosfos mentions that we have a big problem. Well, let's first discuss Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua said like this. There was an argument between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. And Rabbi Eliezer keeps bringing proofs that he's correct. It's a Gemara in Bava Metzia about this oven that was, Rabbi Eliezer I think said it was tahor, I think. And Rabbi Yeshua said it's not. It was an oven that was built from like different frames. And the question is, was it considered an oven that's a part of the ground, or was it considered an oven that could become tamei or not? Was it separated? So Rabbi Eliezer refused to accept what everyone said. And Rabbi Eliezer says, let the stream outside prove that I'm correct. And the stream started to flow the opposite direction. He said, that's. Then he said, let the walls of the Bais Medrash show, and they started to collapse, and Rabbi Yeshua stopped them. And then he said, let the heavens decide. And a voice came out and says, Rabbi Eliezer is correct. Rabbi Yeshua says, we don't trust the heavens, for the Torah's here. We don't. It was given over to us. Now, Rabbi Yeshua doesn't accept the Baskal. Now, there was a voice that came out that said, a different time, that says that the halacha is like Beis Hillel. Remember, Rabbi Yeshua doesn't accept the Baskal? So that means that Rabbi Yeshua doesn't accept that the halacha is like Beis Hillel either.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out very interesting. The Gemara tells us Rabbi Eliezer was Shamuti. Rabbi Eliezer is put in Cherem. He was a slightly had allegiance to Beis Shammai. Shamuti may mean Shammai. He was a Shammai follower. Turns out that Rabbi Yeshua doesn't accept the Baskal.
Wow.
That halacha is like Beis Hillel, which means that although Rabbi Yeshua is not in the same pattern of Beis Shammai, but nevertheless there is a point over there in Rabbi Yeshua that he's accepting that there's a potentially you could follow Beis Shammai. So we said over here, if you want to go like Beis Shammai, go like Beis Shammai. It's either before the Baskal or it goes according to Rabbi Yeshua that doesn't accept the Baskal in his own instant.
Here it says that it's not that he's not accepting Beis Hillel. It says according to him,
It's not been decided.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the explanation for how is it that we don't accept the Baskal? If we follow Rabbi Yeshua's opinion, Rabbi Eliezer was put in Cherem after that, and nevertheless we accept the Beis Hillel's Baskal. That's Tosfos' discussion here. And Tosfos asks on the top, he says, it's a big wonder, because we go like Beis Hillel because of the Baskal, and we don't go like Rabbi Eliezer, because we don't accept the Baskal. So we're picking and choosing. That was our problem, right? We're picking and choosing here when to accept the Baskal. So he says no. Over there, that wasn't the real Baskal. That just came out for Rabbi Eliezer's honor. Anyway, the explanation is like this, that there was an argument who's the halachas like. Not between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. It wasn't an argument about specific things. The argument was, do we accept the sharper one, or do we accept the majority? Beis Shammai was sharper, and Beis Hillel is the majority. So they argued for 2.5 years over this. How to rule. So then the Baskal came out. The Baskal decided that you follow the majority. Now, it's possible that the Baskal, what it did was it added the sharpness to the majority and made the halacha like Beis Hillel. What is the Baskal just pushed it to that side. But it's not like we're going to determine a halacha here because of a Baskal. What we're doing is, we know that there's a majority, and the Torah says to follow the majority. The question is, does that apply when there's the other side is sharper? So that was a decision that was made by the Baskal but there's such a strong support for it that we don't say that it was just the Baskal that told us that that's the halacha. Okay.
You're saying it's strong support being the majority.
The majority. They have a support for that. That's this Taisvus, and it's a Taisvus in several, wherever this is mentioned, Taisvus again has the same discussion. Okay, Mikol Makam Kasha, go back on Rava, we had a problem there. Amar Rav Tavis Kulaka Rav. The Rav actually just went according to Rav. The Chiyasa Rami Bar Yecheskel, you're getting a lot of personalities here. When Rami Bar Yecheskel came, he said, Leitatisa Leilahani Klali, don't listen to those general statements, the Kayal Yehuda Achim Mishmei Rav, that my brother Yehuda said in the name of Rav. Rami Bar Yecheskel is Rav Yehuda's brother. This is Rami Bar Yecheskel. This is Rav Yehuda Bar Yecheskel. So Rami Bar Yecheskel says, don't listen to my brother Yehuda, his general statements. Let me tell you what Rav really said. Who's older? You can guess. Now,
Actually, it says he was the younger brother of Rabbi.
oh really? Oh, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I'd have to see how he knows that. Not from our Gemara. So the statement before that we said, Rav says that place of Shechita is just a masha. We didn't say that Rabbi Yehuda said it. Just what we're understanding here is that whenever we have a statement from Rav, it's automatically assumed to be Rabbi Yehuda is the one that gave it over. He's such a big student of Rav. So Hachi Amar Rav. Rami Bar Yecheskel says this is what Rav really said. Veishet nasnu bechachamim shir. The Veishet, the sages gave a measurement. Until where it's going to be kosher. Now, Mechlal, that implies the turbetz aveshet lam makam shchitu, that's not the turbetz aveshet, which is the upper part of the esophagus, is not the place of shchita. Uka amar b'mashu. And Rav said that it becomes treif with the smallest incision there. And what we're saying is that it doesn't have to do with hilchos shchita. The turbetz aveshet, if it's punctured even a small drop, nothing to do with shchita. That's not the place of shchita. And it's nevertheless, a hole there is even the smallest amount. So he happened to cut through there. He wasn't allowed to cut through there, even according to Rav. And he made a hole, so it wasn't a good shechita. And he made a hole there, so that's a treifa. So from both accounts, according to Rav, it's invalid. Nothing to do with going like Rav and Shmuel. Gemara says, L'mayla ad kama. How high up on the Veshet are you allowed to cut? So Amar Rav Nachman ad kadei tfisas yad. Rav Nachman says, until you can hold it with, you have to leave 3 or 4 fingers, according to Rashi, on the upper part of the neck. Rashi says, don't accept that opinion that says just the ends of the fingernails. Lamata ad kama, how long down? How low down on the esophagus can you cut? In other words, if the animal stretches its neck backwards, it will pull up on the stomachs and it will stretch out, and then you do a shechita there. So how low down? Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Abavu ad kadei sheyasher, until it becomes hairy. That would be in the stomachs. They have the little hairs, so that would be in the stomach itself. So you have the whole veshet. Einy, is it really so? I think we have to stop here. We're falling a little bit behind. So.
Yeah. Awesome job, guys.